Well, all good things must come to an end, and it seems that Anthony Fauci's tenure should probably come to an end. I mean, after all, it's been 37 years and he's completely lost the faith and trust of the American public. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I'm Trish. Portions of today's program are brought to you by Immunity Armor Gold. It's the most advanced immunity boosting formula you can get in one single product. So go to immunityarmorgold.com and use promo code TRISH10 to get 10% off. Again, that's immunityarmorgold.com, promo code TRISH10. Now, Anthony Fauci has, it seems, lied to the American public. And I say that because don't forget, this is the guy that sat there with a straight face and told the entire American public and our Congress this.
I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Oh, except that actually it turns out it did. In other words, our taxpayer dollars did actually fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology for bat coronaviruses. And we learned that because, well, the National Institute of Health actually came out and told us in a letter that they addressed to Congress. So how is it that this guy still has a job? I mean, 37 years later, he's still working on behalf of the U.S. taxpayers that are paying him to effectively, let me just give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to say he lied, okay? Let me give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's assume that he had no idea that EcoHealth Alliance was using American taxpayer dollars that came from NIH, then went directly to Wuhan, that they gave to Wuhan. Let's assume he knew nothing about that. Don't you think, as all this was unfolding, that somebody should have been asking questions? I mean, if he's the guy in charge, why wasn't he asking? Did we maybe have any hand in funding any of this? These are logical questions that should have been asked. And anyone with sort of half a brain, I mean, Congress figured it out, right? They would be able to determine the money trail here, which is publicly available. We've seen that. All of the receipts, so to speak, from EcoHealth getting money from the NIH, which then went to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So why wouldn't Anthony Fauci so much have said, hey, you know, maybe we should be looking at what kind of role we might have played in all of this? Again, seems like a logical question to ask, but nobody wants to do that because it's all a CYA move. They're all in CYA mode. It's typical government bureaucratic stuff. Speaking of bureaucratic stuff, it looks like that stimulus of Biden's maybe DOA. What happened to the parental leave? Wasn't that a big part of the platform? I mean, there's talk that climate change stuff is getting axed. You got the parental leave getting axed. And this $4 trillion plan is looking like it's going to be a whole lot less, maybe 1.2, maybe 1.5 if they're lucky. And it's missing all these key components. Look, I've said from the beginning we can't afford any of it anyway. Okay, I'm all for infrastructure. We need to fix bridges and roads, and that's important to do right now. But all the social stuff, listen, it's wonderful. I wish we could do more. But I'm also a realist. And I know that, you know, roughly 30 trillion in debt and still counting is a lot of money. And we don't have the funds. I mean, it's very difficult when you give entitlements. Think about Social Security. When you give these things away, it's not like you can take them back. And so once you have things like parental leave or elderly care, it's going to be very hard to change that, same as Social Security. It's too bad in some ways. I mean, the parental leave, again, we don't have the money, but that kind of seemed like a good idea, right? In some ways, to give 4 weeks paid, government paid, not individual businesses, time off. I mean, if you're gonna pay for all kinds of things like we have been paying for, I mean, think about, you know, you get to sit home on the couch instead of going to work, courtesy Uncle Joe, then, you know, when someone has a child, that might be a good time to put in some kind of benefit like that, but he's not going to get any of it. And here's I think fundamentally the problem right now, you have a Democrat Party that is so splintered and so divided, with the socialists like AOC and Bernie Sanders trying to ask for the moon, and logical people like Manchin and Sinema saying, wait a second, but how are we going to do this? Really, really, how are we going to do this? I mean, I think it's wonderful that we want to strive for that, but we've got to be realistic, and we've got to think about our future. We've got to think about our kids' future. We've got to think about the health of this nation. And right now, with 30 trillion and still counting, and all the money printing that's going on from the Federal Reserve, none of this is really sustainable. And at some point, we're going to wake up and we're going to be in one big, giant hole with all kinds of entitlements that we can't get rid of. So while I commend them for wanting these things, and I don't dispute that we should want them, the reality is we can't afford them. And someone needs to be the adult in the room. Just a reminder, please make sure that you go to my website, trishintel.com, subscribe to my newsletter. You'll get this podcast delivered directly to you every single day, along with all the stories that my team and I are watching there at trishintel.com. So do me that favor, go to trishintel.com, subscribe to the newsletter, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you back on the podcast tomorrow.